Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Wednesday evening, March 5, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamp that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the dash be like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at an expert insight here from Philip Klotzbach on Twitter. He's actually a meteorologist at the Colorado State University, specializing in Atlantic Basin seasonal hurricane forecasts. And sometimes he makes some very accurate predictions about what would occur in the Atlantic hurricane season. So if you haven't yet been following this person, you need to follow them as soon as possible. So he made a post this morning at 8:23 a.m. that stated, forecast from the ECMWF calls for a near average Atlantic hurricane season through September, with ensemble average of 12 named storms, 5 hurricanes, and ACE of 90% of normal. Forecast near average tropical Atlantic sea surface temperatures and endo-neutral like primary contributors, and numerous graphics right here highlighting the very information that he just stated. And just for reference, average Atlantic hurricane season would be based on the data from 1991 to 2020. So it would be somewhere around 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. So this is why he used the term near average. That is what he stated. Near average Atlantic hurricane season. So it's not average, it would be near average. So basically the 1981 to 2010 data, where we would have been using 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. So it's definitely less than that. About 5 hurricanes is what he stated. We'll see exactly what unfolds this year, especially considering that we're heading to a neutral like pattern. We'll see if it's actually near average, average, or above average in general, especially with the sea surface temperatures that are being forecasted. Alright, let us take a look at the predictions from the Euro and the GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here as it goes to next 168 hours. That's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represent inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Heading into Thursday morning, we do see some isolated showers to the north of us. Maybe some of that might come into northern parishes. Then by Thursday afternoon, we see that rainfall across maybe sections of some southern parishes. Let's see what the GFS is showing for the same time period. Definitely some isolated showers to the north of us in the morning. Thursday afternoon, maybe some isolated showers across the southern end. Let us see what Friday morning is showing. Friday morning isn't showing much of anything across the island in terms of what the Euro is showing. The the Euro at the end of the day on Friday is showing rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let us see if we have the consensus on the GFS. Friday morning, we see some isolated showers on the north coast. Let's see what Friday afternoon is going to be showing us. Some rainfall across central and western parishes. Very interesting. Quite different but interesting. Saturday morning, what do we see? We do see some dots of green surrounding the island. Then by Saturday afternoon across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's see what the GFS is showing. For Saturday morning, we see some rainfall to the west of us. We see some rainfall to the east of us. And then by the end of the day, we do see some dots of green to represent some isolated shores across the eastern end and the western end. We'll see it actually plays out. Heading into Sunday morning, we do see some dots of green that represent isolated showers around the island. Then by Sunday afternoon, what do we see? We see some dots of green that represent some isolated showers across sections of some central and western parishes. Let us match that latest Euro to the latest GFS. Sunday morning, rainfall to the east, rainfall to the west of us. Then by Sunday afternoon, some rainfall across northern and western parishes. Let's see what Monday is showing us. Monday morning, we see some rainfall across southern and eastern parishes. Then by Monday afternoon, it's across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's see if we have the consensus. See, this is Monday morning, 12:07 a.m. Not seeing that rainfall that we saw on the Euro, but by Monday afternoon, it's more so rainfall across western parishes. Heading into Tuesday, what do we see in the morning? Do we have the consensus? We do see a line of shores associated with the frontal system extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, eastern Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Honduras, Belize, and portions of maybe the waters to the north of the island. Then by Tuesday afternoon, we see that rainfall across central and western parishes. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. And we can see the line of shores associated with the frontal system still extending into Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Honduras by that time. Let us match that to the latest GFS. Tuesday morning, rainfall. We see the line of shores associated with the frontal system. We see that rainfall across the western end. A very interesting morning for sure. Tuesday afternoon, eastern, central, and western parishes. Then we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. And we see the rainfall associated with the frontal system, but it's a bit displaced from where the Euro has it. The Euro has most of it extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portion of northern Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Honduras. But the GFS, not so much. We see most of the shores associated with it extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, central and northeastern Cuba. Maybe some isolated shores across Jamaica, but we're not seeing it extending into portions of Central America like what the Euro was showing. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, in terms of the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps from both the Euro and the GFS over the next 7 days. First of all, we know that the most in the way of rainfall is represented by what we see here on the key on the right. That's the reds, the burgundies, the purples into the pinks. That represents anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. And we can clearly see that the most rainfall over the next 7 days across the western hemisphere should be across portions of Honduras right here, the dark reds, purples, pinks. So too sections of eastern Panama, Colombia right here, western Venezuela, southern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana right here. And it's not only the GFS here that's showing this, but even the Euro model that's showing something very similar. While we have more greens into yellows, into oranges, into slight reds, that we know represent anywhere from 0.2 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 1 inch of rainfall expected for areas such as Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Guatemala, section of the Yucatan, sections of Cuba, section of the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Western British Virgin Islands, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances are higher for it to actually happen. But let us focus our attention on Jamaica in terms of our total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days. Both maps right here are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Wednesday, March 12th. And we can clearly see the blues into the greens that we can see by the key on the bottom. That represents anywhere from 5 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to maybe 15, 20, maybe 25 millimeters of rainfall, especially across eastern, northern, and western parishes, where we see the Euro here has shaded in green. GFS a bit more reserved, only going into the blues, maybe anywhere from 1 millimeter up to 15 millimeters. We see a dot of green right here across southern Trelawney, well, southwestern Trelawney, southern St. James, northern St. Elizabeth, maybe the cockpit country right there, getting the brunt of it. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see numerous blue spike lines right here off the east coast of the US associated with strong frontal systems. We see another frontal system extending from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portion of the eastern Caribbean, where it has induced a trough into the region. And we see a ridge of high pressure right here to the northwest of this frontal system, another ridge of high pressure to the southeast of this frontal system. And we know these ridges of high pressure are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can make out all of these entities. The clouds associated with the frontal systems currently bring some bad weather to portion of the eastern US, into portion of the northern Bahamas, Florida, the Gulf right here. We can also make out the clouds associated with the other frontal system and the clouds associated with the trough that has induced into portion of the northeastern Caribbean. Definitely bring some overcast skies, if not rainfall, to those areas as we speak. And we can make out the low level flow of the clouds being steered from east to west across the main development region through the Caribbean. Some of these low level to mid level clouds definitely have some moisture within them as we speak. And we see the usual thunderstorm activity still lashing, especially Colombia right now, so to southern Venezuela and some of the other northern South American countries. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Wednesday, March 5, 2025. It was stated that rainfall would have been in the forecast for parts of eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica during Wednesday afternoon. And we know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening as early as around 8:06 a.m. the visible satellite image was posted not only here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but it was also posted on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see that at around 8:06 a.m. we're getting in on some clouds more so to the north of the island, but some of these made their way into portions of Portland, where they brought overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, into sections of Portland. If you live in Portland, please confirm the morning rainfall that you got down in the comments. Then by around 3:46 p.m. the visible satellite image was posted once again. It highlighted clouds bringing overcast skies, if not isolated showers, to sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes. We're talking about sections of Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, southern St. James, northern Manchester, Trelawney, St. Anne, northern Clarendon, northern St. Catherine, section of St. Mary, section of St. Andrew, Portland, St. Thomas. It definitely got in on some of the overcast skies, if not isolated shower activity. And we can see it all even better on the visible satellite images right here before we lost the sunlight. And even while we were losing the sunlight, we're still getting in on some amount of clouds bringing overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, especially the section of Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. And we even have some brief convection bursts across section of the island too. We see those across the eastern end right here, across section of St. Thomas and Portland. And we saw another burst of convection right about here across northern Manchester, southern Trelawney. And we saw the high cold cloud tops as represented by the blues into the greens, yellows, oranges being steered off towards the east, more so east southeast, just as we stated by that upper level wind shear. And we can even make out the sparkling white dot somewhere in here across northwestern St. Thomas, southwestern Portland, that we know represents some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. Also see the sparkling white dots, the thunderstorm activity right here across northern Manchester, southern Trelawney as well. That was where we had the convection burst today for sure. Inland areas of some eastern, central, and western parishes, just as predicted. But if we take a look right here at See Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing what was taking place in the corporate area, this is Crossroads in St. Andrew, and we can see definitely void of the population in general. Definitely a holiday today. We can barely see people walking on the road, but we see people in their vehicles going about their business. Definitely cloudy skies as well. Don't see much in the way of sunshine at this time, 1:59 p.m. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. If we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute from Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map paints quite the picture of where we had the rainfall today. We see those areas shaded in purples, greens, yellows. Even although it's not 100% accurate, it does paint quite the picture of where we might have had that rainfall for sure. And we have a few comments here coming in from some of our followers on our social media platform. We have Giovanni Panton stating Spanish Town, sunny. And finally, on our Facebook page, we had Latoya Anderson stating nice evening, no rain as yet. Thank you for confirming the weather in your area. But it's time for us to reload what's taking place across the island as we speak from the Weather Nerds website. The latest still image from the Weather Nerds website is showing the time 0035 UTC, which is actually 7:35 p.m. So this just came out 12 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:47 p.m. right now. And what do we see across the island? Well, we do see some clouds right here to the south of St. Thomas, some clouds right here across sections of Manchester, St. Elizabeth, maybe some clouds across sections of Eastern St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, spilling into sections of St. Andrew right there. We also see some clouds right here to the north of Portland and St. Mary. Don't think we have much in the way of rainfall embedded in any of those clouds. Let's look at the Cuban Doppler radar imagery right here to confirm. It is going all the way out to 7:20 p.m. and we can make out some isolated showers right here across southern Manchester, southern St. Elizabeth. Some of it just coming off of the eastern portions of Manchester, section of northwestern St. Elizabeth too, getting some of the isolated shower activity. Taking a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban naval radar imagery, we see some rain bands right here across the western peninsula of western Haiti, sections of eastern Cuba getting some isolated showers too. The Cayman radar not showing much of anything across Jamaica, but we do make out some isolated showers across sections of Cuba, some isolated showers in and around portions of the Cayman Islands. And if we take a look at what's taking place right now, according to the latest halfway tree camera, we can see people walking about. Only a few of them going about their business. People in their vehicles going about their business. Definitely a fair night. As we can see here, not much in the way of rainfall taking place. And if we take a look at the temperatures right now, 25 degrees Celsius can be seen right here in Montego Bay as well as Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on Thursday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Thursday. When calculated, 18Z on Thursday is about 1 p.m. on Thursday. And we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight orange colors that represent maybe up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures, as we can see here from the key on the right. And we know the normal temperature for the month of March across the island of Jamaica is around 87 let's say 3, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius, what we use here in Jamaica, that's around 30.7 degrees Celsius. So it should be receiving anywhere from 30.7 to 32.7 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Thursday. And unfortunately, we have some maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online's Twitter page that we have to highlight. I know that we have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages in our area, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Thursday, March 6, 2025. We're referring to Beverly as well as Salem in St. Anne from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Gray Street in St. Mary from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Redbury to St. Louis in Manchester from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Belvedere Road in St. Andrew from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sheffield Old Road, Geneva to Breezy Hill, Shrewsbury housing scheme in the parish of Westmoreland from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Bamboo Drive and Crabwood in St. James from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Foreshore Road in Trelawney from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Seaforth Square to Golden Valley in St. Thomas from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Park Mountain in St. Elizabeth from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And finally, we have Falmouth Gardens in Trelawney from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, as usual, we have some tips right here to beat the heat. It states here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing, and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions, and pets. Be cool, stay indoors, and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest part of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of drinking lots of water throughout the day, even if you're not thirsty. And I would suggest that you would put away all of those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we've been talking about the dry air, and we know that the dry air is responsible for making the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain in general. And we know the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. We can see the dry air extending all the way across the entire Atlantic basin. We see a lot of dry air across the Gulf in the reds and the whites. A lot of dry air across the main development region as well. We also see the low end of the scale in terms of dry air across a portion of the Caribbean. We see the yellows. Yellows, as we can see here, represents the low end of the scale. And that's what we want to see. We want to see little to no dry air at all. That we have some moisture, especially in the dry season. Bring us a rainfall, because it's better to get rainfall in the dry season, keep water in our pipes and everything. You can see that there's a lot of moisture across the eastern Pacific in the blues right here to the west of Colombia. A lot of moisture right here across the intertropical convergence zone to the southwest of West Africa and to the east of Brazil and the French Guiana. And if we take a look at what's happening regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Thursday, we can see everywhere is in the clear. Just a slight patch of Saharan dust right here across sections of the southern main development region. And we're also glad that we're not seeing it extending into the Caribbean. We're also glad that we're not seeing a vigorous plume. We know the vigorous plume is represented by the dark shades of brown. That means hazy skies. And we know that can trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses, asthma, sinusitis, you name it. So we're glad that that is the forecast for the Saharan dust for 2 p.m. on Thursday. Clearly North America, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, Northern South America, and Central America will all be in the clear. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues across the northwestern Caribbean, central and eastern Caribbean. That we know represents anywhere from 0.5 for meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave height. Across Jamaica's north coast tomorrow, up to 0.5 for meter wave height is expected. South coast 0.7 for meter wave height, maybe 0.8, and that's because of the winds that are expected. Wind not gonna be strong at all, and I mean look at the wind direction too. The winds seem to be coming more so from the northwest or from the northwest. A very interesting forecast. We're used to more of an easterly flow, but apparently we're getting something different tomorrow. So anything that comes off of the sea from the north, maybe some isolated showers, could be expected. We see it averaging 5 knots from the northwest tomorrow. Very interesting forecast indeed. And the upper level winds are going to be coming in from the west southwest, so not like what we saw today when it came from the west northwest, pushing those high cold cloud tops out towards the east southeast. It's going to be more of a fashion like this from the west southwest to the east northeast. That's if we actually get some daytime heating convection. A very interesting day tomorrow in general. I'd love to see it actually unfolds. Either way, look at what the morning is showing. The Euro and the GFS are in consensus that the blues that represent rainfall should be across the waters to the north of us, and with the flow of the rain and the wind coming in from the northwest, all of this could definitely come onshore on the north coast. We're talking about Hanover, St. James, maybe Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland getting in on that morning rainfall, early morning rainfall at that, because that's what is being shown here, 5 a.m. on both the Euro and the GFS. Then by around 4 p.m., a very interesting forecast. Look at where both the Euro and the GFS has the rainfall, mainly across sections of some southern parishes, especially the GFS. We see St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, maybe section of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, even although it's not as a robust signal with the dark shades of blues. Maybe just some light shades of blues. Maybe that's enough to bring us some rainfall. We clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are adamant about that. And even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps are adamant that there's going to be rainfall somewhere across Jamaica within the next 24 hours. We see the Euro going all the way up to 0.23 of an inch of rainfall, the GFS only going up to at least 0.15 of an inch of rainfall. And we'll definitely take it because we're in the month of March. And March is our driest month of the year across Jamaica. In Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we shall receive up to 10 millimeters of rainfall in the month of March. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we shall receive up to 2.2 inches of rainfall for the month of March. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives for the month of March or for the entire year in terms of rainfall, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have a trough right here across the Leeward Island, bringing some amount of overcast skies, if not some rainfall, to portions of Guadeloupe, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Martin, Montserrat, and let's say St. Kitts and Nevis, maybe as far as the US and British Virgin Islands. Puerto Rico gotten on their fair share of thunderstorm activity today. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images over there, pretty sure we're going to be seeing the signals of that rainfall across the Leeward Island. Here we have the greens into the dark greens, that's light to moderate rainfall affecting St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Antigua and Barbuda. The waters to the east of the British Virgin Islands, the waters to the south of the US Virgin Islands. Some isolated shores across sections of southwestern and western Puerto Rico. And if we load these images from earlier today at around, let's say 2:05, look at the heavy rainfall affecting portions of central and western Puerto Rico. We also see that rainfall to the east of St. Martin too. And if we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can make out some isolated shores pushing in from the east, affecting Barbados as we speak, pushing towards the west towards St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Maybe some of that rainfall right here to the far east of Tobago would make it towards Tobago as the night progresses. And if we take a look at the weather VF Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall across portions of northwestern Cuba. We see some isolated shores across sections of southern Belize, as well as sections of Colombia. And if we take a look at where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that the most rainfall should be across sections of Colombia, western Venezuela, sections of southern Venezuela, Suriname, French Guyana. We also see some rainfall still in store for areas being plagued by the trough, including St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, section of Belize, the Yucatan, Guatemala, eastern Nicaragua, section of southern Costa Rica, section of Panama getting in on some of the action too, even section of eastern Cuba. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are very much higher. Alright, so that is it for the forecast for Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. Thanks for watching.